I still remember that night clearer than I remember most years of my life. Chicago, early winter, wind whipping between skyscrapers like it was trying to peel the glass off the buildings. Up on the 47th floor of Helix Innovations, the kind of tech company you only read about in magazines, the woman running the whole empire was standing alone in her corner office watching the storm swallow the city. Her name was Alexandra Pierce, 41 years old, self-made millionaire, Forbes cover twice, and one of those people who walk into a room and everyone else stands up a little straighter without meaning to. But that night, even from where I was 4 floors below, pushing my cleaning cart, I swear I could feel her world shaking. I'm Daniel Reyes, by the way. Single dad. Night janitor. Former college professor nobody remembers. And for most of that year, I lived in the shadows of people like Alexandra, cleaning their floors, emptying their trash, pretending the person I used to be hadn't been swallowed by bad luck and worse timing. If you'd told me that before sunrise the next morning I'd end up saving her $70 million deal, changing my daughter's future, and flipping my entire life upside down, I would have laughed, wiped down another conference table, and kept moving. But life has a funny way of dragging you into the light when you least expect it. I was mopping the hallway outside conference room Delta when I heard the first alarm bell, not a fire alarm, a human one. Raised voices. Heavy pacing. Doors opening and slamming shut. The kind of sound you hear right before someone quits or gets fired. Upstairs, Alexandra was preparing for the most important meeting in Helix history, the signing of a partnership with Yoshida Global, one of the most respected Japanese tech dynasties. The deal would push Helix into the Asian market. It was her 3-year masterpiece. And then, 40 minutes before the delegation arrived, their interpreter, the one and only person trained for this meeting, got into a car accident on the I-90. Surgery. Unreachable. Every language service in the city was closed or stuck in flooding. Without translation, the deal was dead before it even started. I didn't know any of that yet. I just heard Japanese through the glass, sharp, clipped, irritated, and then Alexandra stepping into the room with that stiff smile executives use when they're trying not to scream. From the hallway, I heard Yoshida-san mutter in Japanese. Unacceptable. If they cannot respect our language, they cannot respect the partnership. And that's when something inside me ignited. For 10 months I'd walked these halls invisible. Nobody knew that before life hit me like a freight train, I had taught linguistics for 12 years at UCLA. That I spoke 7 languages. That I once lectured on the importance of cultural nuance over literal translation. Nobody knew. Because nobody asked. Because janitors aren't supposed to know things like that. I looked at the photo in the top of my cart, my daughter Luna, hair in messy pigtails, 6 years old, heart condition we were still trying to manage. I thought about the bills I couldn't pay and the life I'd lost, and then I thought about Alexandra forcing a smile at men who were packing their briefcases. Sometimes you don't choose the moments that define you. They choose you. So I let go of my mop, walked straight to the glass door, knocked once, and stepped inside. Everything froze. Alexandra blinked like I just walked into an operating room uninvited. "Daniel, what are you doing?" she whispered. I swallowed the fear and said the only thing that mattered. "I can translate." Shock. Silence. One of the Yoshida advisors actually laughed under his breath. But I switched into Japanese, bowed slightly, and said, "Esteemed guests, please forgive the confusion. If you grant us your patience, Mrs. Pierce is fully prepared to present everything with clarity and respect." The room shifted. Yoshida-san straightened. His eyes sharpened. "You speak our language fluently," he said. "Better than some of my graduate students used to," I answered. Alexandra stared at me like she was seeing me for the first time in 10 months. Then she whispered, barely audible, "Please, help me fix this." So I stood beside her and for the next 2 hours, turned chaos into connection. And for the first time in years, I felt alive. The Yoshida deal didn't just survive. It flourished. They signed the agreement. $74 million. Helix exploded with celebration. But in the world of corporate ego, success breeds enemies faster than failure does. 3 days after the deal went public, Helix's board announced news that hit Alexandra like a knife: a hostile takeover attempt by Nexum Holdings, a private equity giant known for buying companies and gutting them. Cut jobs. End international plans. Strip departments. Sell patents. Helix would become a carcass. Alexandra called me into her office for the first time, not to clean, but to talk. "Daniel," she said quietly, "I need your help again. Your language skills, your diplomacy, your insight. We need more international partners. Fast. If we show the board we have a global future, they won't sell us." I could have said no. I could have reminded her I was just a janitor. But she looked tired. Scared. Human. And I remembered how she stayed late signing holiday cards for the cleaning crew, the only executive who ever bothered. So I said yes. Over the next month, I lived on airplanes. Korea, Germany, Mexico, Singapore. I translated, negotiated, clarified cultural misunderstandings before they became insults. We signed 3 more partnerships. The stock started climbing. The board's loyalty began to shift. But storms don't end that easily. One night, just hours after I landed back in Chicago, Alexandra's father appeared out of nowhere. Victor Pierce. Billionaire investor. Man with a spotless reputation, and an iceberg for a heart. He stepped into a Helix board meeting with a folder in hand and a smile colder than winter. "This," he said, dropping papers on the table, "is everything you don't know about your new director." My stomach dropped. Inside the folder. The lawsuit from when a student falsely accused me of misconduct. My wife's divorce filing 3 months before cancer took her. My rehab records from the year I couldn't handle losing everything. And the part one never told anyone, the night I almost gave up entirely. Twisted. Weaponized. Timed perfectly. Alexandra looked at me, pain in her eyes. "Is any of this true?" "Yes," I whispered. "But not the way he's telling it." Her father didn't stop. "He is manipulative, unstable, a danger to this company. End this now, Alexandra. Fire him. Or Nexum buys the company tomorrow." The board shifted. Eyes judging me. Years of mistakes drowning out every good I'd done. Then my phone vibrated on the table. St. Grace Children's Hospital. Luna's heart had weakened. Emergency surgery. Immediate. I stood up, trembling. "I'm sorry. I have to go." Alexandra reached for me. "Daniel. My daughter needs me." And I ran. Hospitals have a way of stripping you down until only truth is left. I sat beside Luna's bed, barely breathing, trying to pray, trying to stay upright. And then, footsteps. Soft. Familiar. Alexandra. She walked into the waiting room with her coat still wet from snow, carrying a stuffed bunny she bought in the gift shop. "Is she okay?" she whispered. "They're operating," I said. "They don't know yet." And for the first time since the night I stepped into that conference room, I cried in front of her. "Daniel," she said gently, "I don't care what my father dug up. I want to hear the truth from you. The real truth." So I told her. Everything. How my wife filed for divorce to protect me from her medical debt. How the false accusation ended my academic career. How grief shoved me into a bottle for too long. How I crawled out of it for my daughter's sake. And when I finished, she didn't look at me with pity. She looked at me like she understood. "We're not perfect people," she said. "But we're honest ones. That matters more." Just then, her phone buzzed. It was her father. She put it on speaker. "Lauren," he said, "tell me you fired him." She stood, staring at Luna's closed door. "No," she said quietly. "I'm done letting you decide what kind of person I'm allowed to be. You're throwing away your company for a janitor. I'm saving it with a man who did more for Helix in 2 months than you did in 20 years. Lauren. No. You don't own me. You don't own this company. And tomorrow, I'm exposing every illegal move you made to push the takeover." Silence. "You'll regret this," he said coldly. She hung up. The next morning, at the emergency board meeting, Alexandra walked in with a woman at her side, a former SEC investigator. They had documents proving her father's fraud, his shell companies, his bribes to board members, his insider trading with Nexum. The board turned on him. Security escorted him out. Helix remained independent. He lost everything. We didn't. Luna survived. The surgery worked. She has a little mechanical valve now she calls her robot heart. Alexandra visited her every day. Not as a CEO. As someone who cared. 2 months later, she offered me a full-time position. Vice President of Global Relations. A salary I'd only seen in movies. Full medical coverage for Luna. A future I thought I'd lost forever. But here's the thing. People still talk. People still whisper. Should a janitor really be in an executive position? Is he sleeping his way up? Is he stable enough? Does a single dad deserve that much power? And that's why I want to end with a question. White medium star, if you were Alexandra, would you have trusted the janitor with a broken past? Or the billionaire father with a perfect suit, asterisk asterisk? Who do you think was right? Who was wrong? What does this story say about second chances, prejudice, and hidden talent? I want to hear it in the comments. Because stories like this don't just happen in movies. Sometimes, they happen to people cleaning the office after hours.